Go ahead.
Check that out. Hey y'all, thank you so much for coming to the 2026 into 2027 seminar and training for stage managers. Yeah! We are also live, so this will be a live stream. There will be a recording available after this show. And we're going to hit the ground running. It's going to feel like we're shot out of a cannon. If you don't have a notebook or I'm going too fast for note taking, don't worry. You will have the resources after today's seminar. Today's just a great way for asking questions in person and connecting in person. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Feel free to grab some refreshments and some paperwork as we get started. If you want it in order, it's right to left in both rows. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. So, actually, while folks are getting refreshments and paperwork, if you're looking to have your paperwork in order, just to double check, it goes to daily call. Your blocking sheets with diagrams as well as places to write. You will have a packet from Daniel Einaz's statement of handbook talking about blocking notes. That one's a bit more expansive. Then we have an example of a rehearsal report in the standard RLT and GLM format. We have some preset and tracking lists, both made by me and made by a coworker of mine, Laura, who is currently running the Mackers and Robin Hood track over at Lake Tahoe Shakespeare Festival. And then, to finish us off, we have a performance report. And we'll be talking about each of those in that order. All right. So, stage management is a bit, we're not going to fit in everything in an hour and a half, I promise. But there are some things I'm going to contextualize specifically to what RLT and GLM do, and there are some things that are just really general tips to have as an artist pursuing stage management. So we're going to break it up into 6 sections today. Some of them are going to feel chunkier than others, but that's how we're going to take it up today. We're going to start with pre-production and a chandelier. Rehearsals, notation, then take it down to tech, performances, and post-production here at the new Lena Little Theater. So what I find very important to start off with is keeping in mind what role we play in the big picture throughout all of these conversations. Because while we can get really good at paperwork and we can get really good at timing and tracking, something that the job you learn along the way is collaboration in a large capacity, in a position that has high responsibility. So because art is so personal to each individual person, there's going to be situations that no one can teach you, and you will learn when you're in that situation. So take a moment to yourself to think about, when you think of a stage manager, what's a word that pops into your head? Like, I know for me, it's the word responsibility, because you are handed things like keys and given things like passwords, and those can be intimidating. Anyone like to share a single word that pops in your head? Yeah.
Organization.
Organization, absolutely. Any other keywords that just spring into your head when you think about? Yeah.
Leader.
Leader, absolutely. Leader of the room. Anything else? Yeah.
Multitasking.
Multitasking, yeah.
Safety.
Safety. These are great key words that all encompass stage managers. These are just a few other ones that I think of when I think of the job of stage management. We have note taker, attentive, knowledgeable, reliable. You are going to be almost the human version of the Bible of the show by the time the show is over. But it also comes with being a mediator, being decisive, being a confidant for not only cast members but also production team members. You are someone, a leader that people look to. So we're going to keep these keywords in mind as we think about each step of the job. So here at RLT and GLM, you can come to expect from us your script, keys, and access Email, we are running with a system of using a company email so that you don't have to spend personal email space to put in recordings of the shows or put in those big PDFs of scripts. We'll also have access to the Google Drive. That's going to be a lot of information that you are going to be privy to. It's confidential information, but because you've gotten the job, we take it in stride that you understand the responsibility of all that information and the organization of that information. You're going to be privy to pre-production meetings and be a part of those pre-production meetings. Those meetings are a format in which we bring the whole creative team together to talk about the plan for the show before the cast even comes into the room. We're going to be talking about set, we're going to be talking about lighting, we're going to be talking about vision, so that when we get into the room, there's context that we have that the cast is going to start learning on the spot, but we have it before we even get into the rehearsal room with the cast members. I am working on, as the new production manager here at the new Legal Theater, are going to be organizing a contact sheet and production calendar for you. Those are great skills to have just as a stage manager, but for our purposes, I will be taking care of contact sheets for a distribution list so you can send folks your reports, as well as a calendar to overlook your specific calendar, because there are so many things going on here at the new Read a Little Theater that we want to make sure that you have a resource to just look at the specific calendar for your show. Now, what can we expect from you? Consistent communication is a key part of pre-production process. We want to make sure that we're able to reach you, whether that's through the company email that we provide you or the email that you were hired on. Attendance and active participation, that means coming to the pre-production meetings. If there's a conversation happening over email, perhaps seeing if there's a meeting coming up for a specific creative team. Sometimes the director and the customer just want to meet and they'd like you to sit in to take notes, so on and so forth. Cross-referencing, it may be an opportunity where I am not at auditions, but you are, or vice versa, and we want to cross-reference our contacts and make sure that everyone's on the same page about who has what role. Again, we'll do our best to make sure that that part is very easy for you, but because you are taking on a role like this, we trust that you have the knowledge that if you say something or see something that seems off about the contacts or off about the calendar, you have all the empowerment to raise that concern with us. And then asking questions where needed, feeling empowered to say, hey, I'm not really clear about where we're headed next or what the next step is in the pre-production process, or when first rehearsal is where we're headed, making sure that you know exactly where you're going to be on which day. Feel free to ask those questions. There's never a part of the process that we want you to feel like you're in the dark. Any questions about pre-production? Sweet. Not expected from you, but great skills to have. Again, a production calendar, learning how you like to structure your own personal calendars. Is that color coding for you? Is that having a label of the show? Is that having dates and times bolded, but information about the rehearsal day in smaller font? Those things that you take with you into personal calendar building is what I use to build my formatted calendars. So building upon those skills in your off time, or even looking at the paperwork references that are coming your way. Something that we're going to touch upon very, very briefly, but it's very, very extensive, is taping out a floor. That's that little packet that you have from the Stage Management Handbook by Daniel Einazi. It is a process in which we take the scenic draft and measure it out in scale onto the floor. There might be some opportunities in a rehearsal room, because we move so often, we don't typically expect a taping out of the floor, but it's a great skill to start learning when there's a complicated set and people need to consistently stand in the same place for safety reasons, for accuracy reasons, for when we come into the main stage and now we have the set up. It's a great way for actors to think, oh yes, there was a circle on the floor, and now there's a big tower in a circle shape on stage. I know exactly where I need to be. Again, not something we expect here for our purposes and how quickly things move and how often we move spaces, but if you have any questions about it or would like a reference for it, there it is, and I'd be happy to talk more about it in the future. So moving right along into rehearsals and talking about our role in the room. The list goes on and on, so long that if I had to scroll, it would roll out the door. But some points that are really, really important for the kind of rehearsals we do here is distributing information. We call a distro list the list of folks that you're going to send out your daily reports to. And by daily reports, I'm talking rehearsal reports for rehearsals, performance reports for performances, and any other information that needs to go to the full creative group. That list will be on your contact sheet. Some people will email you and say, hey, you can take me off the distro list, like Mackenzie, who is our deputy director. She's on our contact sheet just in case people need to ask her financial questions, but she doesn't need to know that you need a new table in the rehearsal room. So folks like that, learning who your distro list is so that you're consistently giving accurate information to all concerned parties. Managing breaks, you're going to be keeping an eye out on what spaces of work you've completed, and that will determine how long your next break is. We'll go into further detail about that, but typical breaks are 5-minute breaks, 10-minute breaks, and 15-minute breaks. You will be managing timing those out and bringing the group back together to maintain the flow of rehearsal. You are the schedule, and sometimes the director who built that schedule is going off of the schedule. It is your job to gingerly, or sometimes assertively, determine how we can move forward. And sometimes it's saying, hey, we're back from break, y'all. Let's get back on track. And also finding those moments where you can laugh along with the group, find the flow of rehearsal. If, again, this is something that you learn in the moment of where the director has a strict schedule, and some days you really have to push to make sure everyone's on topic. And then there are also days that you are starting to finish a certain block of rehearsal early, and folks are having a laugh, getting to know each other, and learning how to balance the flow of rehearsal on its strict schedule and marrying that with building camaraderie in the room. Then, of course, you are the point person for director and designer support as well as cast support. If the director has a question, they will be looking to you. If cast has a question, they will be looking to you. And the reason I'm so vague about question is because you will have any and all of them. Where the Band-Aids are, where can I get water? What's the timeline on our set design? What's the timeline on the costumes? Do we have a date that we're expecting X, Y, Z? Does that all make sense? Or support? Does anyone have any questions about these roles in particular or these parts of the process? Sweet. Now, how do we tell people where to be and when? Daily call is a great tool. That is the first sheet you'll see right there. A friend of mine, Ann Barkin, a wonderful equity stage manager, uses this formatting for her daily calls. I use a different grid formatting. There are so many different formats that you use. We will typically use a table format here at RLT and GLM. But you can see that there is a time, what is being rehearsed, and who is called that day for rehearsal. This is a great way that if there are last-minute changes to a rehearsal, that you can send out this email and say, hey, this is the most updated version of our daily call. Please be here at this time. And this is also a great resource for if the director is splitting up rehearsal days. So you have a total of 4 working hours. But you only need, I'm going to use Romeo and Juliet because it's a very well-known show. You need Romeo and Juliet at the first 2 hours of the day, but you need, oh God, I said everyone knows the show, and I'm about to butcher the name. Mercutio? Hell yeah. You need Mercutio for the last 2 hours because you need to work a monologue. That's a great way to show visually that we're going to be splitting up the day and who's called at that time. So you call folks in. You're actively in rehearsal. You're going to be reading some stage directions. You're going to be on book for those who are trying to get off book. So cast members are going to be slowly trying to memorize their script, or hopefully not slowly, but at a great pace, be learning their lines. You're going to be the reference on book. That's going to play into the notation that we talk about in a minute. But actively having someone on book as a reference for cast members who are memorizing their lines. Maintaining the integrity of props, costumes, and the rehearsal hall. That means sweeping at the top of the day for safety. That means making sure everyone picks up their trash. You may be maintaining the integrity, but you are not a maid. You are not a servant. Making sure that the room understands the level of respect that you are giving them is meant to be met equally. And that does mean, hey, let's treat these props with respect. Let's treat these costumes with respect, and showing them mutual respect through you being attentive to their needs and then being attentive to the maintenance you're withholding within the room. A stage manager's kit is a great tool that you'll slowly build over time. I know that for me, it's now in the deepest depths of these many pockets, but cargo pants is literally one of my kits now. I wear cargo pants whenever I'm stage managing because I have many things in my pockets. Sharpies, highlighters, somewhere deep in the depths of my pockets. If I have a small bag that I don't use very often, I'll build it full of Band-Aids. I have like a numbing oil, massage oil, like an icy hot, ice packs, mints, things that you will be asked about in the room and can absolutely ask other state managers, hey, what do you have in your kit? And build it over time. We do have a stage manager's kit readily available in the RLT rehearsal hall. And Chad, do we have one in the GLM area as well?
Yeah.
Cool. We will look towards building one. Yes. Oh. And we have one in our booth. That's awesome to know. But yes, there are some kits that are readily available. They may not have every nuanced item that you like. Like I know I like to have a scale ruler with me at all times. A tape measure. The state manager's kits should have a tape measure. Just tools that you'll start to build on your own so that you are the Swiss Army knife of the room. Then, of course, note taking. This is our junkie section. Everything that happens in a rehearsal room is going to be on our radar. That includes, I boiled them down into these sections, there might be some more nuance to them. But we're going to start with blocking, looking at lines, design element tracking and notation, timing notes, spikes, and any and all changes and questions. Before we get into notation, are there any thoughts, any questions about rehearsal process, getting into the room? Wonderful. I appreciate you all letting me word vomit, but also feel free to raise your hand at any time. So blocking. I realized I was about to say hoo boy, and I think I'm going to say hoo boy at the top of all of these. All of these notes you're going to find happen at a very quick pace because again, you're following a schedule and you're watching things happen in real time. You're trying to track those things in real time. So the first thing you'll encounter before people are getting off book is blocking notation. Notating any and all movement on the stage. The key, well actually I wrote the key is the key up there, but the key is also shorthand. Your key that you have an image reference of as well in your paperwork. This one is provided by Daniel Inazi for a production of Julius Caesar. You'll see he gives an example of a very simple movement first and uses his shorthand and his key to describe the movement of, I believe it's Brutus, who's moving across the stage. We want to break up blocking to help us into 3 separate notation steps. First, we're going to number the action. We're going to write a description of that action and then draw a diagram. It also is very helpful that if someone is a visual learner or a very literal learner that likes to read out the words, it's very helpful for different kinds of people who take in information differently to look at their own blocking notes. The reason we take down blocking notes is because of safety reasons, consistency reasons. The director is trying to remember whether Romeo was on stage left or stage right. You will have those notes down in your book. How will you have those notes? Well, you're going to start with your key. So for this example, I've given the key of RO in a circle stands for Romeo. X I'm going to use as my cross symbol, and SL I'm going to use as stage left. There are some unanimous shorthand used throughout the industry, but as long as you have a key, folks have a reference to what you're utilizing as your shorthand. So if we're looking at the script, the director wants Romeo to move stage left on the line the sum, and not any earlier. So first we're going to number that action. I would draw a line underneath the, into the margins of the script, and draw a little circle with a 5. Does anyone have an inkling why we would start with like a number 5 or 10? Any thoughts about that? Yeah, Oliver?
Because the directors are crazy and they change their minds.
In so many words, yeah. So this is something that I see lighting designers do very often as well. We start with a number that's not 1, just in case we need to go back and add something before it, so we don't have to go, shoot. All right, new number 1, new number 2. It's now 5, so we can add 1 through 4, and if we need to, 1.1, 1.2. Hopefully we don't need to. But let's say the director wants him to move stage right on it and stage left on the. Now you have the ability to write a 4 on it. So I'm going to number it. It's now numbered number 5. In my description, you'll see on that little blocking sheet that has the lines and the diagram of the stage itself. I would write on those lines a number 5 and use my shorthand ROX stage left. Romeo crosses stage left. Now this is probably the second or third time that they've run this scene. I would make sure I have all my descriptions and all my number of movements and make sure it's consistent before I start drawing my diagram. On the diagram of the set, wherever they are on the set or approximately, because of course it's not going to be super, super accurate because it's a tiny, tiny little model, I would use a visual for Romeo, RO in a circle, and use an arrow to indicate where he's moving. This little arrow in the middle indicates that there's a pause in his path. So if he takes a long time, don't know why he would say the sun, but that's his movement. He's going to be crossing stage left, taking a pause, and then finish his passing all the way stage left at that last little diagram indicator. Any questions about this whole breakdown of blocking notes? I provided you with some blanks as well as Einarzi's diagram of it. Feel free to practice. It can literally be the example I use in my class at UNR is David Tennant and Catherine Catherine Tate. They're Much Ado About Nothing. There are so many YouTube links on YouTube. I just watch their blocking, find moments that are, there's less people on stage, more people on stage, and work my way towards a more complicated scene. Some tools that are really used for this are little stencils. You can use stencils in a small stencil kit, circles for chairs, squares for tables, so on and so forth. Bringing those tools to your aid so that you are ready to quickly draw down any kind of movement that happens within the blocking. That all make sense? Sweet. Moving right along to line notes. And I'm going to say it again, who would he? Line notes come up when the cast is officially off book. Up until that point, line notes are kind of null and void because they're still going to have a script in their hand. But once a cast has their books out of their hands, now we're doing a little bit like a quiz. How well do you know your script? We don't want to treat it like a quiz because some people get very upset by getting a stack of line notes. But we want to make sure that we're accurate to the script. Does anyone have an inkling as to why we want to be so accurate to the script? Yeah.
Sound, cues like cues that get affected because of after transposing words.
Absolutely. We sometimes take our cues off of folks that are giving out lines. Yeah, Jen?
We're contractually obligated to say all the words.
Legal reasons. If there's any pushback, another great way to indicate, hey, you need to be line perfect is, well, we're legally obligated. Plus, accuracy to the script is respect for our playwright. One of my favorite things that our director, Lily Perry, would say to us, she's like, now we're starting to disrespect black women's words. And the guys would go, okay, we'll read our scripts, we'll read our scripts. This is one format of line notes that I typically use if cast prefers a physical format. It's quite literally a slip of paper. I'll print out 2 onto one sheet, chop them up in half, and circle which type of line note it was, whether the line was paraphrased, skipped or dropped, jumped. If they called line, that is a line note, or if they're adding dialogue. This happens often in comedies where there's bits and things that get thrown around. You're like, that's hilarious. We legally can't do that. So adding a line is also a line note. You would indicate the character, the page number, the line that it's supposed to be, as well as the line that was said. This is all the dream. If you are a team of 1, it will happen less accurately, if at all, and that is okay. It is great to draw a little star in your script and say, hey, I know that you did something here. I don't know what it was, but look at this page. That's okay too. If you're a team of 2, sometimes it's someone who is on book all day and the other team member is looking at all of the other design element tracking. And again, this happens later in the process when the cast members are off book officially. For our techies and folks who enjoy tech, Apple users have an app called Linet. That's a very good resource. And for Android users, there's a application called StageRight that has a bunch of tools for line notes as well as blocking notes. I just don't have Apple, so I can't use Linet. But if you have access to an So a lot of the students I work with use Lightning, and it's a great, great resource. So if you're interested in getting off paper and moving online, those are some great tools for you as well. Then moving to design elements, both tracking and notation. This concerns props, costumes, lighting effects, sound effects, any kind of tricks or special effects, set pieces, so on and so forth. You'll see I attached a preset checklist and a track sheet that I had built, as well as a friend, Laura, has built, working, like I mentioned, on the tour with the Great Lakes Mackers and Robin Hood. I believe I included the Robin Hood track sheet. What essentially we are going to be doing is looking for the when, who, what/how, and where of everything that moves on stage. Because this very often works in tandem with the movement of the cast, it will start to work in tandem with your blocking notes. So again, each of these notes is really going to help you be the most informed person about the movement of the show, where folks are supposed to be, the safety elements of the show, and so on. So, in detail, when does the action occur with any of these design elements? Who handles the design element? Is it a character or is it a backstage crew member? What is the action/object? What is occurring with the object? And how is it being handled? And finally, where is the object coming from or going to? Is it coming down from the fly system or is it going from stage right to stage left? Is it being shattered? Is there a breakaway bottle? Is something being put into a trap for safety reasons later? And how can we format this? It can be something as simplistic as a table like this. This is the very building blocks version of my typical track sheets. It's a page number, my who, my what, my cue, which is when the action occurs, from and to. There's also parts of my track sheet that I squish the from and to together and indicate that it is going off stage or coming on stage and staying with a character, or indicating that it's in a character's pocket. So there are instances like that too. There's nuance to where that thing is going. So in this example, Romeo comes on with a sword on his entrance and goes from off stage center to downstage left on a chair. So maybe his sword is in his hilt, he sits on the chair, or he picks up his sword, puts it on the chair while he's crossing downstage left. Yeah? And then in Juliet's case, she is going to take a bouquet of flowers. On her exit, she's going to take the bouquet of flowers off the bed that is stage left and cross off stage right. Again, utilizing that shorthand so that your paperwork doesn't become an actual transcript of War and Peace. Doing whatever you can to condense the information to make it as accessible as possible for your cast members, crew members, and yourself. So that is design, tracking, and notation. Notation we're going to talk a little bit more about when we get to the end of notation. Any questions thus far about blocking, lines, or design elements? Sick. It's going to give us plenty of time for questions. Timing notation. We keep time on us at all times. I was going to say we keep a watch on us. I've made a big assumption. I'm saying I keep a watch on me. This is a very cheap casino digital watch. Casino, not casino. I live in Nevada now. I'm from Connecticut. So I have a cheap casino watch that I keep on me at all times with a digital timer so that I can quickly look at it and reference it because, one, we're tracking breaks, right? We're tracking the pace of rehearsal. There's also making sure that we keep on time for breaks. So if you've done about 60 minutes of work, that typically justifies a 5-minute break. If you've done 90 minutes of work, typically that leads to a 10-minute break afterwards, or leading to an hour and 20 minutes of work, finishing off the hour and a half of work with a 10-minute break. So doing an hour and 20 minutes of work, 10-minute break, total 90 minutes. 120 minutes of work typically means that we're going to be taking a 15-minute break or longer. If there are longer stretches of time, especially if you work in any equity houses or anybody that has a contract that specifies when their break should be and for how long, you'll have more details. But this is a very similar structure to how equity houses hold their then of course, we're keeping the work on schedule. We're seeing that in our daily call, we put down that we're going to spend an hour on Romeo's monologue. We're about to hit that hour mark and you're noticing that we're only half of the monologue. So what you might say to your director without interrupting the flow is saying, hey, by the way, we have about 5 minutes left in this section. And the director might make the executive decision to say, oh, we're going to keep moving forward, and as people filter in, we'll work them into the space. We're going to do our best as the stage manager to really keep it to the schedule that they have built, because sometimes they discover they need more time for things. We also want to respect the cast's time, right? If they've been called in for an hour and a half and they moved around their schedule to come in at an odd time, it's very important that we at least uphold the schedule that was written down and see how we can work with the timing as it's naturally flowing in the room. Does that make sense? Sweet. So, as we prep for tech, there's also a lot of great timing notes that if you have, you're going to be set to go when you get into the tech room. Timing out quick changes. Understanding if you are doing a design run, which speaks to a rehearsal where you'll run through the entire show in front of all the designers with no design elements, maybe a bit of sound or special effects. But you're going to run through the whole show as a whole to time it out. And for that, and why we do that? It's for the purpose of timing out how much time you may have between two scenes. Ooh, guys, I know we want to go from Juliet in like a full jester outfit, I don't know why, into a full ball gown, but we have about 10 seconds between that scene change with the current music we have. Let's put that in the report so that all parties know for when we get to tech, we're really going to have to work on that quick change and see where we might have to find compromises. Whether that means a compromise for the sound team, the costume team, or both coming together. We also have scene changes themselves. If there is music already set into your rehearsal pacing, you'll understand how much time you have between scene changes before you get to the room and know what timing your goal is. So when you have a crew that comes in and works on scene changes, you can say, okay guys, we have a goal of timing it out in this 1-minute song. We're really going to try and get this scene change done in this 1 minute. Or actually, I can use this example. Chase understands we have a whole scene in which we have a scene change. The curtain's closed upstage, and there's a scene change that needs to happen in the duration of the scene that's happening downstage. So that scene has 5 minutes. All right, guys, we need to do a big scene change in that 5 minutes. You write down that note so that everyone's mentally prepared to run that in time in the space. Then, of course, you're looking at the estimated time of the show itself. We're going to have to market the show, and to market the show, we have to tell people how long it is. Some references are online for really popular shows that have been done for a long time. And there are also shows where, like some Shakespeare shows, that they add in scenes, they take away scenes. So us timing out the show is also going to help marketing understand how long the show is for promotional reasons. Then, of course, we're looking for breaks in the show. I don't know if any of y'all have worked a show similar to this, but has anyone worked a show where someone does not leave the stage for like an hour? There you go, raise your hand. Does anyone want to speak to what typically happens to an actor who doesn't come off stage for like an hour? Yeah.
Your Elwood's losing blonde. You've got to pee so bad.
Bathroom break, anything else? Yeah.
Need water.
Water, need water, absolutely. Anything else that comes to mind? I know for me it's sweater. Gotta dampen them down because they're in that costume under the lights, they've been dancing, they've been singing, or they've just been monologuing very intensely. And the minute they come off, they're going to want to be covered in towels, get some water, perhaps go to the bathroom. Do they have time to go to the bathroom in that scene change? All of that timing can happen in the rehearsal room so that when we get to tech, you already have it in your track and going, all right guys, during, actually Jeff, a friend of mine who's at Mackers right now at Lake Tahoe, a great example of this is he is Mackers. He is the man himself. He goes off for like 2 seconds, and in those 2 seconds, we've got 2 water bottles that he can crush and a sweat towel. And so it's already in the track sheet. Hey guys, we got like 10 seconds between this quick change, water and towel at the ready at that quick change. That all makes sense too? Sick. Then of course we have spiking. I counted this as a type of notation because it's something we carry with us throughout the process to make sure that we're consistent. Because again, we are the consistency So spiking can indicate many different things. You can spike where an actor stands, a set piece stands, where a speaker is supposed to be for the consistency of the sound designer. They really want it at this angle, pointed in this direction, in this space. Well, we're going to spike it, make sure it doesn't move. Lighting fixtures, that applies the same way. If something is focused, and when I say focused, it means that where the light beam is hitting. If it is focused in a particular area, we want to make sure it stays in that particular area. What if it's a special on someone downstage? And if they're slightly to the left, now they're out of light, and the drama is gone, show ruined. So a spike is a great way to help with that. Then of course, props. If a prop needs to live somewhere and an actor needs to consistently find it, and it's not able to start off stage, you can spike it on stage using spike tape. A couple spikes that we use, back spike. You will use the two corners of the item that is upstage of the item to back spike it. This is a great way to try and hide spikes from the audience. But if it's a lot easier to see the front of the item for the actor or the cast member who's bringing it on stage, a front spike is also usable. That is a spike along the downstage edge of the item. And if you have an odd shape like a circle, you can always use a center spike. That is like a circular diner table. Sometimes we'll just have a little X. Actually, we'll have a little X on the floor, and that'll be the center of the item that you'll place onto the stage. So if I had a circular table, I would put the middle of the legs right on top of that X spike. Any questions about spiking? Magic.
One other position I would say is for set pieces that don't move during show but have to get struck post-show for other events that may or may not happen. To spike underneath legs or underneath the corners of carpets, things that the audience would never see.
Yes, yeah. So if there is a changeover, or there's also use for it backstage as well. If you want something to consistently land in the same place, whether that's in setup or whether that's during the show and something gets struck, but it's ginormous. I think Hadestown was a good example where they had the ladders that swung in and out. Is that correct? I know because Grunch also had those steps, but in Grunch we had a large step ladder that would lead to the two windows in the set. But because they're so large, we needed to give them a spiked out home backstage so that it would have enough space to live back there without crashing into anything. Thank you for that. Anything else on spiking? Yeah.
Sometimes designers can be real cool. And very not spike shape. So you can also note as you go along, if your director is like, all right, we're going to have 90 pieces of spike tape, we can't have that. You can mention that in your report and we can paint that into the board.
So paint on spikes are an option that sometimes sync designers prefer because especially if you have spikes that have a lot of glow on them, the minute the lights go out, it's Starry Night. Rains and makeup. So actually, there's a sweat example here. In sweat, we used painted on spikes where the flooring looks like wood, but these two little L's are the black paint underneath the brown floor paint. And those were used as spikes for a set piece that would add a little bit of glow around, but they're not as obvious to an audience themselves. And that way, if a designer is like, there's too many bright orange spikes on my beautiful wood pattern, that way you can find a way around that. There's also different colors as well. Like there are neons that are really easy to find. Those are great backstage and on prop tables as well. Prop tables are a great thing to spike out to make sure that the props end up at the same home every day. But there are also very neutral colors and desaturated colors that can help blend into the set as well. Yeah, sick. You're right on that. I love having things to add for next time. And of course, rounding it out with anything else. I included changes and or questions because they will come up. There will be changes to the vision of the director is having about something. Sometimes, I think I have it in my rehearsal report that I gave you all as an example. Sometimes costume pieces and choreography will conflict each other. Not intentionally, but let's say an actress is in a big skirt, like a hoop skirt, and she's expected to do like a fly kick in her choreography. Well, the hoop skirt's not really going to help with that. So we can ask, hey, can we remove the hoop but keep the skirt? Is that possible? Asking those questions in rehearsal reports. Which leads me to will list out who was in attendance, if anyone wasn't in attendance, if anyone wasn't in attendance and it wasn't expected. Were there any illnesses reported? Were there any challenges in the room? What was planned to occur versus what actually occurred? Does anyone know why we include both of those? Any thoughts? That's okay. Let's say we had a plan to run Act 2 and then run it again. And then in the actual section, we only ran it once. Now we can all remember, okay, cool. We were supposed to run it twice, we didn't. Now let's plan and see if we have to run Act 2 again before we get to tech. So that way you can know what you planned for, look at what the day actually entailed, and that helps with planning to make sure, oh, okay, so Act 2 actually took a lot longer than we thought, so let's plan out a whole day just for Act 2, or a particular scene that took longer than we thought. Then you're going to have notes for all production sections. That includes props, scenic, production, which will address any questions towards me. Facilities, if there's a problem with a light bulb, or if there's a problem with heating, or if the AC is broken. There are questions for front of house. Hey, when is photo call happening? When is there promotional filming going to happen? Sometimes they go out and do radio sessions and interviews for the local news. Connecting with them over rehearsal reports is a great tool. Listing any and all changes that could affect any part of the production team is a great thing to add to your rehearsal reports. So these are going to be our reference points for daily activities during rehearsal and to loop everybody in who's going to be participating, especially as we lead into tech. These are going to be great references for how each step along the way went. Does anybody have any questions about rehearsal reports? Yeah, Jack.
Just an ask from designers and production team members. The more specific you can be in notes, the better it is for everyone. So if you say in rehearsal, it comes up that a chair is needed, and you just say, we need a chair. Okay, well what type of chair? Do you need an armchair? Do you need a chair with no arms? Do you need a chair with wheels? Do you need a chair with a back or a no back chair? Do you need a cushy chair or a hard chair? Is someone going to stand on that chair or just sit on that chair? Is someone going to throw the chair across the room? All of those, any detail you can imagine that could be part of your process in the rehearsal plan is so important for us so that we don't have to spend 3 emails back and forth, not only with you, but also the director and whoever to try and narrow down what that choice is. Now, the director might not know until they get the wrong chair in the room. They go, oh, I didn't know I wanted to do this. And that's fine. It's always going to happen. But at the outset, the more specific we can be about those rehearsal report notes and show report notes, the better it is.
Yeah. And I'm going to share my favorite statement or book with you again. But a great book that I use as a reference for communicating these needs, State Management Theory as a Guide to Practice by Lisa Porter and Nora Alcorn. They talk a lot about assumptions versus clarifying questions. And rehearsal reports can be a delicate space where instead of saying, hey, this thing, let's say it's a costume piece. There's a rehearsal skirt that was put in, the costume designer knows it's a rehearsal skirt, the director doesn't. And the director has strong feelings about that rehearsal skirt. Instead of saying, hey, this skirt really doesn't work for us, it's not doing well, we need it to change. And changing that into looking to clarify, is the skirt provided in the rehearsal room, the final skirt? Is it open to adjustments and or color changes? Asking those clarifying questions before jumping the gun to assuming the intention is a great communication tool while being specific. So being specific about needs, being specific about adjustments, and also being specific about clarifying questions. Opening up that conversation so that no one feels like they're being shorted in the creative process by either an assumption or a shutdown of something they didn't even intend to be their final product. Because having learned prompts, boy do I know when I send in a tape ball and I'm like, this will be a snowball, I promise. It's going to be magical. And they're like, okay. sick. So we have all of that information.
I'm so sorry.
No, please.
I just remembered.
Yeah.
Sort of in the same vein of what I just said, but going a little bit deeper is you can never communicate too much information, and when in doubt, put it in the room. And that could be as simple as you might have seen a small thing happen between two actors. Maybe they didn't, maybe nothing happened or whatever, but just taking that note and saying maybe it was a conflict, maybe it was a challenge, maybe there was something offhand that the director said or whatever, but it really does, it can count later on to be as inclusive as possible with all information.
Absolutely. And that is a lovely segue into a document that you folks would have access to in the room, incident reports. Very similarly, if someone even gets a paper cut, if someone scuffs their knee on the floor, if someone rolled differently during a fight call and they're going, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. We always offer an incident report. An incident report will accurately represent what occurred during that time, when the incident occurred, what actually occurred, what was the injury, if someone was feeling ill. Incident reports are always offered. Actors have the right to decline an incident report, but we always encourage consistency in the department by saying, hey, better safe than sorry, because incident reports directly link to workers' comp and other kind of compensation that happens if an incident happened in a workspace. So you as a stage manager will have access to those incident reports, and we highly encourage you to encourage others to utilize them, even for the smallest of incidents. Sweet. You've done the paperwork, you've done the tracking, you've done the blocking, you've done the lines. Now, you get to bring it into tech. All of that work is going to set you up for immense success in tech. Having all of that information to be answering all of the questions super, super easy. Different types of rehearsals you may encounter in a tech week or a tech process, sometimes 2 weeks. It's going to be spacing rehearsals. That means that the actors are going to come on stage for the first time and feel out the space. Sometimes it may feel tighter, sometimes it may feel larger. And you'll run through the show and adjust blocking as necessary. You'll correct your blocking notes as they go along. Paper tech and dry tech, I had little asterisks next to because it's dependent on the designer as well as the company. Paper tech here varies on the designer. Dry tech, sometimes there isn't really time for, so we just move into Q to Q. But a paper tech is a roundtable conversation in which the designers relay their cues as well as cue timing designations. So what that means is the stage manager will have their prompt book. You'll have your script that you're going to be calling the show from or using to cue the lighting and the sound and the projections, whatever elements are included. The designers responsible for those teams, lighting, sound, and projections, will tell you where they want their cues in theory. Why I say in theory is because sometimes in practice they realize, ooh, the timing's a little bit different because the actor adds some more air to that line, or, oh, there's a lot more space between the two scenes than I thought, we're going to change where that cue is. But a paper tech will set you up with all of the cues you need that will inevitably have adjustments, but it's a great preparation tool to get into tech having some kind of skeleton of where those cues are going to be. And we'll talk about cues in more depth in a minute. Dry tech is a tech with no actors. So a dry tech might look like using lights, sound, and other tech elements, but with just the backstage crew. Sometimes dry techs look more like set change rehearsals where it's just the crew. But if there's an actor involved in a set change rehearsal, that might get saved for something like Q to Q. Q to Q is exactly as it sounds. You're going from Q to Q. That means if the lights change in 6 pages, you're going to jump those 6 pages between the light changes. If it's a musical number and there are 3 light changes in 10 seconds, you're going to run that musical number. It's relative to how far apart the cues are. If it's more advantageous to skip sections of the script, you will do so to make sure that all the cues work in time accurately. Then, of course, we have run-throughs. Run-throughs and dress rehearsals are categorized separately, just to indicate that run-throughs happen without costumes, hair, and makeup, and dress rehearsals happen with costumes, hair, and makeup. So on those days of run-throughs, you might be getting into microphones still, but you will have to allocate the same amount of time to get into elaborate costumes. But a dress rehearsal indicates that everyone should come in prepared to do hair, makeup, and costumes, and the costume team has an idea of when they can build their laundry schedule around those rehearsals, right? We want to make sure that we're supporting those teams through these really hectic weeks or time blocks so that they can prepare, okay, we need to have the adjustments to this costume done on this day. Props teams know that, hey, we're actually not going to use that prop in rehearsal, we're just doing a run through, we don't need that particular prop. Okay, it broke in last night's rehearsal, we have time to glue it back together and let the glue cure. Those are two very specific situations. But does that make sense relative to the type of rehearsal? Sweet. And eye contest technique, a lot of these books do, some people count it as part of the performance week, but previews. Previews is still an opportunity for the show to receive an audience, but not be frozen. Does anyone know what I mean when the show is frozen? And I don't mean Disney. So the show being frozen indicates that the show can no longer be changed. There is no other opportunities for notes for the actors. There are no other opportunities for designer notes. The show is what the show is, and it's going to stay that way. Typically, shows are frozen after an opening performance. So previews are an opportunity for audience to come in to see the show and give feedback that's actually going to affect the process. Some companies have an extended preview period so that they can have a longer time to make adjustments based on audience feedback. I believe on average, RLT and GLM have one preview before opening, which is still an opportunity for audiences to have feedback that we utilize to change up the show. But previews I count as part of tech because we might have a rehearsal after a preview to make those necessary adjustments. Now going back to cues, because this is going to be, I always say that tech is for the stage managers, because we know everything about this show, right? But it's our opportunity to learn now how the show is going to flow with the other tech elements. The tech designers have all been working separately, they've been preparing to set you up for success and preparing you with the necessary cues. And this is your opportunity to learn. So a cue is a signal given by I use PSM, Production Stage Manager, ASM as Assistant Stage Manager, used by the Production Stage Manager to indicate when an action or shift should take place in the show. That means a light cue, that means a sound cue. In Play That Goes Wrong, you're hearing the dramatic chipmunk music. That's all sound cues. There's a flash of lights that indicate lightning. That's a light cue. There's a projector that turns on, gives a cool lighting effect. That's a projection cue. So each of these cues are the tech elements that move throughout the show, and sometimes actors motivate those cues. Sometimes it's on a line. Sometimes it's with a transition. But those are all cues. As I indicated, those could be cueing actor movements. That could be indicating scenery moving on and off stage, special effects, so on and so forth. Does anyone have any questions about cues themselves? Great. So something that we do a little bit differently here at RLT is you will be operating the cues typically yourself in the booth. So we'll get into more detail about operating those systems past tech after you have learned about those cues. Another part of tech that is going to help you build the performance track is understanding what pre-show calls are necessary for your show. Because again, you are the Bible of this show. You're going to start to learn in the rehearsal process what kind of pre-show calls you'll need, but they could be broken down into fight call, intimacy call, flight call, special effects call, lift call, dance call, so on and so forth. Let's say there's a very complicated lift where someone gets lifted into a backspin and then put that back on the ground. That would be a lift call. We're all going to make sure that everyone's feeling safe, that no one feels off about the choreography, the choreography is consistent, and we're able to repeat it that night for rehearsal. That goes for fight call and intimacy call as well. You're going to make sure the choreography is consistent, everyone's feeling safe, everyone feels good about it, and is ready to repeat it that night. Flight calls are typically if a person is in a harness and needs to be lifted off the ground. I don't think we have fly space in the AFR spaces, but you may encounter it in your career where someone needs to be lifted and a lift call will be implemented just to double check the system is working well and everyone is safe. Then we have special effects cues. I use this picture because we do a fight call and a special effects call from actors. The special effects might include can cause sometimes apprehension, sometimes fear. It's your job to instill that stability and also reassure folks that you have their back. Part of how we do that is implementing these procedures of safety and consistency. Any questions about pre-show calls? Sick. Then, all of this information that you're accumulating is going to go into a front of house info sheet. This is a reference sheet that we use here at the new Reader Theater, where you're going to compile all relevant information that an audience or marketing team would need to understand. So we can think about this like a content warning. You'll hear me personally use content warning as opposed to trigger warning. It's a type of practice that I learned in TIE, Theatrical and Fantasy Education, where we talk about the content as opposed to how a person's going to react to it. So I call them content warnings. Content warning can include a loud gunshot. There's talks of violence. There's actual simulated violence on stage. There's simulated drug use on stage. Anything that could be a potential, I'm forgetting the word at the moment, but anything that could heighten someone emotionally, either as an audience member or as someone who needs to indicate to an audience member what could potentially emotionally heighten an audience member, we're going to include in the info sheet. We're also, for the safety of the cast, indicate if there's any actor movement. Make sure that everyone knows what scenes actors are going to be walking through the house, if there's any entrances down the aisle, if there's audience participation to give the audience a heads up, as well as help protect the cast members. They don't, surprise anybody by going, okay, you sat in this seat, and now you know you're going to do a dance with me. We've prepped all of them through the front of house info sheet. Any questions about our front of house info sheet? The reason I've included it in tech is typically at this stage of the production, you're going to have all the information you need to inform the front of house. So it's typically at this point that you will hand them a front of house info sheet, and it will include whether or not you have a fight call, whether or not you have an intimacy call, any of the pre-show calls that would affect when they open up the house. Does anyone not know what I mean when I say open up the house? Sweet. And if you do and you don't want to say it right now, you can ask me afterwards. So now that we've gotten through our dress rehearsals, we're into previews, we have an audience, we're going to start doing performances. Once the show is open, it is frozen. And sometimes I have a friend who would say, the show may be frozen, but it's starting to fall. And what that means is that people start making choices. It is our job as a stage manager to say no very gently to those choices. And in some cases, no very sternly to those choices. The designer's vision and the director's vision has now been instilled in you. Your prompt book and your knowledge of the show is now the Holy Grail. It has been for the entire production, but now it is truly the Holy Grail. You are going to be the fountain of information that can help keep the vision exactly as it was given to you. That means if things start getting added, you are making sure that we are diverting back to the director and designer's vision. That means calling your cues and signaling your cues accurately. Because even though it may seem trivial for the lightning to be on 2 lines before the end of the scene as opposed to 1 line before the end of the scene, the designer has asked you for that. That's their design. And even if we don't know the reason, we work with the assumption that they have the reason. So it's very important that we maintain that vision. One of the ways that we can do that is with consistent postings backstage. Now, the daily calls and sign-in sheets are more so for consistency, making sure you have your actors backstage before you start the show. Or if at half hour someone hasn't signed in, you can say, okay, I know who I have to call, and you call them and figure out where they are at half hour. Or sometimes you knock on the door and you see them and you see that they haven't signed in and go, gentle reminder for everyone to sign in, and 5 people run out the door. So sign-in sheets are a great tool to make sure you have everyone in the building that you need. Daily calls are a great tool for the cast to remember, okay, yes, we do have 2 performances today. Oh, today we're starting a little bit later. Whatever that element may be, daily calls are great postings, especially with the sections that has announcements. Sometimes you'll put in there if understudies are going on, if a backstage crew member has an understudy or swing going on. That's a great resource for everyone to remind themselves, because the process can become monotonous after like 3 weeks of doing the same show. that way they have something that they can go back to and recall what is special about that day. And if it's nothing, it's nothing. But it's always a great tool to have. Then of course, calendars speak to the rest of the show run. If you have a block calendar that shows them the rest of the show run, especially if you add an extension or if additional shows get added, shows get struck because of any certain element, having a calendar back there for them to understand what's coming up and what you've already accomplished. Then, what I typically include are my preset and track sheets. This is, it depends very much on the cast you have. I always post my track sheets and my preset sheets, my preset checklists, because a cast member may have a question in the middle of the show that you can't answer. For one reason or another, they've forgotten where they go with that prop, and suddenly a prop is missing. But on the track sheet it says, okay, they've exited stage left with this prop. We know where to go find it. It's not on the prop table. Oh wait, where did they leave with it? They left off stage left. Okay, I can go check stage left. And an understudy. If an understudy is performing and maybe they are forgetting one particular transition that they're a part of, they can go back to the track sheet and look at where they're participating in it. That's why I typically use character names in my track sheets, so that if another study is going on, they can look for the character name and see, oh, I'm playing Oscar, I'm going to this Oscar tonight, Oscar is in these 3 transitions. That make sense? Great. And the preset checklists are great resources for folks trying to understand where their prop starts. If you're doing a show like Schmidt, where there's a billion little props, a lot of them started on stage. Those checklists allow them to see, oh, okay, if I'm looking for a prop, I know where to go. It's backstage left. It's on stage right now and the house is open, I can't go grab it. So on and so forth. It's also a great resource for your backstage crew. If they don't have paperwork for whatever reason, or the paperwork got updated and you posted an updated track sheet, that's all up there for them, so that they have an easy resource to go back to. Any questions about any postings that we do during the performance run? And the reason why I included this in performance runs instead of tech, you can absolutely post it during tech. It will just lead to lots of tape and lots of recycled paper that get changed every day, and then a whole new sheet that gets put up. I don't recommend it, but sometimes it's very useful. So, it's the day. You're gonna do a show. What do you need to accomplish? Well, in the context of our specific shows, because we are the tech team and the stage management team, we'll do our pre-show checks, which include channel checks for checking the lighting. Typically in our practice and check, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't do individual channel checks, and channel checks indicate checking each channel of each light fixture. We tend to find a light queue that includes all of the lights that we use throughout the show, making sure that they are all on, coming down here in the space, checking that the lights are all on, checking that projector, the bulb is working, and making sure that all those elements are turned on. If or when you work on a show here, we'll actually walk you through the power up and power down process, but part of that is going to be making sure all your lights are operable. Then we'll have a sound check, especially if you have sound effects, making sure that the sound is coming from each speaker. What that may look like is turning on some music, using the computer up in the booth, and walking around the space, listening for the sound in each of the speakers, or running sound effects before the house is open and before folks start coming in. You run your sound effects in time, and making sure that you call out into the house that you are running these sound checks and running these lighting checks, so that the whole room is aware of any safety concerns, whether it's going to become darker in the house, or whether there's going to be a loud sound, especially if there are things like gunshots in the show, or loud music in the show. Being able to call out and make sure for safety purposes that you are indicating to everybody what's about to occur. Then your preset checks include checking all your props. Make sure the set pieces are back in their homes, make sure the props are back in their homes, and that support is going to come heavily from your deck crew, especially in a larger show, or if it's you running by yourself, just double checking your work, going through the checklist. Even if I have built the checklist, I still like to check it off, because sometimes I miss things and I see something in front of me and I'm like, oh, that's not on my paperwork. That's a great way to just write down the paperwork, need to make that adjustment, and then you're ready to go. Then you'll reach your call time. If you don't have a pre-show call, you're going to start with your half-hour call. Typically, if you have a pre-show call, it'll just be called fight call, which is about 45 minutes or 50 minutes, depending on how long the fight is, prior to half-hour call. Half-hour call is typically when the house is open, so all presets need to be accomplished and finished. All work that needs to be done on stage needs to be accomplished. So the house lights, the work lights are out, you're in your pre-show look, the music is on, whatever that music may be. If it's silence for the drama, the silence is ready to go, and actors are no longer permitted to cross on stage, because otherwise we break the magic, and we don't want that. So that's their half-hour call. Then we move into 15 minutes call, and that's where you're going to really rely on either a stopwatch or a timer, making sure that you have the time on you at all times so that you can get ready for the start of the show. 15-minute calls are just a knock on the door to the cast members or asking your ASMs to relay the message for you, and keeping in conversation with the front of house team, making sure that they know when you've made your call so that they can start to usher people into the house. If we're at 5 minutes, you said, hey, I've called 5 minutes, they can start going, all right, folks, we're about 5 minutes to the top of the show. Will you start on time every time? Okay. Do we strive for that? Yeah. And it will not happen every time, and that's okay. Sometimes unknown elements come to the surface. There's been a big accident on the freeway. There is someone with mobility differences, and they need more time to get into the house. It comes to your call whether or not you hold the house. Because of the fact that you've given front of house the information on when they see people late in the show, or if there's an opportunity to see people late, keep in constant conversation before the show to make sure that front of house knows, hey, we really gotta get the show started on time. Sometimes people use public transportation, and we can't start later than this indicated time. So therefore you say, hey, we're gonna hold for 5 minutes, and then I gotta start the show. I'll give you guys that 5, and you tell your cast, hey guys, we're holding for 5 minutes. So making sure that everyone is aware of what timing is coming up next and how much time we have until the official start of the show. Any questions in that realm of pre-show prep? Sick. Again, we always strive for being on time, and it almost never happens, but we do our very best to do so. Now you're in the show. Oh my God! It's terrifying. No, it's not. It's great. You will be upstairs in the booth, or if you're at GLM, behind the seating in the booth. You'll be like a little DJ. You have your lighting set up. You have your sound set up. Sometimes you'll have a live stream set up. All of that time will be talked through in more detail with you when you get pointed onto a show. Your responsibilities during the show. Most important one, communicating with the cast in front of house. Like we said during those pre-show calls, making sure that you are keeping in constant contact about when the show is beginning, how much time you got left. If during the show there's a problem, someone looks like they might have hurt themselves on stage, communicating with backstage, hey guys, make sure you have an ice pack ready for so-and-so. Looks like they hit their knee. Or maybe tell a crew member, hey, this prop got left on stage by this actor. We gotta, in the next transition, go pick it up for safety reasons. So you are the eyes. You are, one of my students used, you are tower. I think you know flight lingo. We are tower. We are in constant communication. So if Houston, we have a problem, we are Houston. We have the problem. So you are going to be responding to other questions that come your way. If a cast member has a concern for safety reasons, it becomes your executive decision to either act on that safety concern or find a way to work around it, right? So if there's an emergency in the house, if there's the fire alarm goes off, you are the point person for making sure everyone knows that we are getting up and we are making an orderly fashion out the doors. We're making sure that our cast is accounted for and that we assist the front of house team with making sure the audience gets out and making sure that everything upstairs is taken care of. So again, it ties into that heavy responsibility of making sure that everyone is feeling safe and also taking safety precautions when emergencies come into play. And as we said before, starting the show as on time as possible with that constant communication with front of house. Then you're going to be running the cues in the show. That means if there's a light cue that you've been working through in tech, you're actually going to be hitting the go button on the board. You're going to be hitting the go button on the soundboard. Sometimes that means 2 at the same time, and you'll feel like a DJ at Coachella, and it's super awesome. But that also means that keeping your book as accurate as possible to all of these effects is going to be super important. So throughout tech, changing where those cues are if they change, making sure that if you call any standbys, does anyone know what a standby is? Anyone want to speak to it? Yeah.
It's like a pre-cue for yourself or the tech team to know that. Typically, it's where like you're not the one doing the soundboard and lighting board, so you're cueing those people that they're going to have to be pressing that button to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in one of the books, I forget which one it is, but they define it as like 2 to 3 lines before a cue happens, especially if there's a large break in between cues. Because if there's a musical number and you're like, all right, everybody, there are 45 cues in this one bar of music, get ready, and we're going to go. And everyone's locked in. But let's say maybe there was a light cue to bring the lights up to the start of the scene, and the next light cue is 20 minutes later at the end of the scene. You might give a standby and say, hey, everybody, wake up. We're going to be running a cue soon. And it also helps out with our crew backstage. If we don't have cue lights, which are little lights that indicate that a cue is upcoming, we can indicate to the backstage crew, hey guys, we're going to stand by for this next transition. Stand by lights 45 or whatever cue it is. Stand by backstage crew for the next transition. It's keeping everybody in the same tempo as the show and making sure that everyone is aware of where we are in the show pacing. The ideal is that everyone is already aware, but it is your job to ensure that that is absolutely accurate. And of course, at the end of the show, you're going to do exactly like you did in rehearsal and make a report. The final document you have in your little stack paper is a performance report from the grunge, something that Equity does a little bit differently to other performance reports that we're going to try implementing are audience reception and performance notes. So those are the 2 biggest sections of performance reports to a rehearsal report. You're still going to indicate if there are any notes for the design teams, for the production teams, if there have been any changes, any questions, anything that is broken. Again, specificity is going to be key in those reports. And something that Equity uses in practice that we don't use in practice here, but I think it's good to have as part of our practice, is that audience reception and performance notes. Audience reception speaks to how the audience responded. I believe I used the grunge as the example, so of course the audience is like, oh my god, my kid is adorable. But in particular, if they really love a particular song and they are rowdy after something, I'm going to make note of it. For Sweat, we had a lot of oohs and grunts and people covering their faces. That's a lot of great reception that producers love to know, because they know how their direction and how their show is being received by the audiences. It's great to know also for future production seasons, how do we inform what we do next based on the reception a drama had, a comedy had, what type of comedy it was, or what type of drama it was, and how the audience received it. And then performance notes is a great way to keep track of if anything is deterring away from the director's vision, or highlight the work of the actors as the show is going on. I think I indicated, because these were little kids, some of them got choreography on the closing night, and it was awesome. And I put it right in there because I was like, yeah, they finally got that kick line. It took us the entire rehearsal process, but they got it. And that goes for adult performers as well. If you as a stage manager are watching the show every night, sometimes a monologue will catch you off guard more than you think it will. And suddenly you're receiving the play in a different way, even though you've seen it 45 times. That's a great note for the performance notes. It's also a great way to indicate the fight looked a little intense today, or it looked like someone might have gotten hurt after the fight. We'll be checking in with the cast tomorrow to make sure we're all safe. Same with intimacy. Tonight, a self-care cue was indicated. We'll be checking in with the cast tomorrow and addressing it during the night call. So it's all about consistency and communication to make sure everyone is aware of any kind of outside element that may have affected the show itself. Any questions about performance reports? Sweet. Yeah.
Send them close to the performance closing.
Yes.
As soon as possible. I know sometimes we have like a day between, but we can't do notes. You have to maybe send it an hour before the show, so send them as soon as you can. It's real.
Yeah, that's a great note for all reports and all fill in information and maybe create your own. Because the director will likely be the same throughout the whole process, and same with the stage manager throughout the whole process. So there's small pieces of information that you can just copy paste into the new template, copy the document, use that, and then at the start of the show, I'll copy a new document for that show in particular. If I have time throughout the show, I'll add in those notes about the audience reception of the performance notes as they come to me, and then clean them up after the performance so I can send it out as soon as we are done with our shutdown and startup process. And again, we will go through the details of the shutdown and startup process as we do them here in our specific buildings as we appoint stage managers throughout the season. Speaking of which, post-production. The season show that you have worked on is over. What do we expect? Returning the keys. We'd like our keys back. It is good for us. I don't know, there's no nuance to that. We would just like our keys back. Document paperwork, or now I remember what I meant by this. Documenting your paperwork. What I mean by that is that typically the show specific email is going to be archived. If you have any reference paperwork that you'd like to take with you for future projects, or you really liked how you did a certain type of paperwork and you'd like to take it with you in your future practice, I highly encourage you to download that piece of paperwork or make a copy in your personal email. So making sure that you document all paperwork that you really enjoyed and would like to take with you, just with the not the confidant, with the, what's the word I'm looking for? The prefacing that any confidential information should stay in the specific Google Drive. So documents will be labeled if they are confidential, and especially like phone numbers and emails, that shouldn't go anywhere beyond the show itself. And of course, the participation in the postmortem. The reason we hold these so highly is because that is our very easy gateway to gain information about the process itself from a different perspective. That means cast, that means production team members, and that means you. If there was a part of the process that could have been improved, we want to hear about it. We are going to be leaning towards having postmortems consistently on the Tuesday following closing. That will be listed in LOAs as well as the, I called it something that I'm going to call it something different. The interest form. The interest form that you'll go through later. Those dates are included in the full timeline of the show, just so that we're all mentally on board to stay on until after the postmortem. That all make sense? Sweet. You made it! You did a stage management gig at RLT and GLM. But how do we get to do that? Well, you can scan this little code right here. Get your phones out. This QR code will also be sent out to the other stage managers who were either here electronically or couldn't make it today for whatever reason. This is the interest form that will have the description of the show as well as the show timeline. Included in there is the RLT main stage, GLM main stage, and education shows. You can sign up for all of them as an interest. You can sign up for one of them specifically. At the very bottom, you have the option to submit a resume. We haven't been doing this in the past, but we left the option open if you'd like to receive feedback on a resume or give us an indication of what you've worked on in the past. What we're going to try and do moving forward is also offer opportunities on how we might build the stage management or backstage resume. So if you're interested in having your resume put forward and potentially have feedback for it in a space that is very about building the community and about building you up to better your career, feel free to send it our way. Because we know a lot of you personally, it's a great resource to also get to know the other projects you're working on when you're not here at RLT or GLM. Does anyone have any questions about assignments throughout the season? We have about 10 minutes if anyone has questions about anything that was up here, any questions about nuanced information, the shows during the season. Sweet. That's my presentation for today. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to send a message my way. The resources to this slideshow, as well as the paperwork I use to really try and compile into something that we can send out. A recording will also the season. Thank you so much for your interest today. Oh, I will also leave out, if anyone wants to look at the books that I use, either in my class or in my daily work, I will leave them on the table. And feel free to take snacks with you. They are for y'all, so if you want to take some home with you, you can absolutely do that.
I have a thing that I have to get to that I was like, I'll get there later. So,
Make sure it doesn't explode. He was literally looking at the semester slideshows and going, okay, how do I make one semester in an hour and a half? Well, I'm so glad. It's so good to see so many faces. I'm so good. You're welcome. Yeah. What? I remember someone was like, oh, yeah, yoo-hoo! It's not
That's so funny.
Well, yeah. What a cat. Mm-hmm. Yeah, feel free. The little baggie. Any big.
I mean, unless nobody wants to talk.
I mean,
Okay.
come on. I'm on it for today.
You're too kind.
This was people coming over to me. Good to see you. Did you get
No, I never did.
Okay. I'll see you in stuff in the office.
Okay. I forgot about that. Thank you.
Because I kept, every time I saw the Pokeball, I was like, there's the notebook. Make her see just there.
You want me to follow you?
That's okay. I'll send you the trip.
No.
No, don't follow me. Never follow me.
not go back.
Whatever.
Dude, I can't believe I got to really awesome.
Bro, you could tell that she just didn't want to say no. I cannot believe that you took advantage of her kindness.
Look. So you can say no. They can say no.
It is.
Sorry that I'm better than you.
Yeah.
Care about it.
If you literally think that you can make fun of Ani for anything, you have
I use
everything
Opera
done.
GX.
That's so embarrassing. Are you fucking joking?
What? You say I either.
one of your mom too.
Your mom will.
My mom calls in. Oh gosh. Oh no.
She's here often enough.
Yeah, right?
Let's be honest, sitting in the
I'll just
car.
peek her in.
You'd be like, you want to know what we're up to?
There it is.
You want to read it? I mean, I took pictures of all the books. 'Cause
Fantastic.
Which specific classes have you teach it?
So UNR, it's the stage management course. I think it's Theater 380.
Okay.
But they currently only have one section of it. So it's this, but like a bit more in depth. And I want to say a lot more in depth. But even that section I went, so those books I highly recommend. They have opened up so much for me.
Okay.
Especially the blue one, I forget the author's name, Lisa, English state manager, so getting like
Okay.
a global perspective, so
Okay.
good. So yeah, feel free to give them a read.
Okay. Sounds
It
good.
also supports local state managers.
Yes.
A couple of them are like over at Yale, and they just published the book. Casey, who's over at Lake Tahoe, she just published a book. So I'm like, I support my friends' books.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Read any of these? But thank you so much for coming.
Thank you
It's so
for the
exciting.
little seminar.
Yeah. Thank you.
See ya.
Yep.
See you later.
Bye.
I sent an email about stage management computers.
Okay.
Did send it to you.
Okay.
I didn't see it just now.
You didn't see it? Maybe I just wrote it and it's in drafts right now.
Oh.
Did you get it?
I did not get it. But I
It's
also
probably in
have
drafts. At any rate, we had an idea this season. What if we bought a Mac laptop, I think 4, and assigned them to stage managers?
That would be
Had them already connected to their Google accounts, calendars. If you like this Line It system,
Set that
preload
up.
that on there, and then say, okay, this is your brain, and you take it whatever space you're in, and you've got it all, and it all corresponds to what we're doing.
I'd be behind that.
That's what we're calling it over here.
The
Yeah,
home
Whereas
office.
we're around.
Yeah.
Because we're trying something similar at UNR because the students get free iPads. It's
Oh, sure.
something where they're like, they get
Yeah,
iPads.
it happens in person too.
Yeah. I don't get an iPad, but they get iPads.
Oh, we have a
But-
QLab on it too.
Yeah.
Yes, which would be
Yeah,
great.
it helped for the musical a lot.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
They could just take that where it
Just-
were and
yeah.
exactly what was going to be playing
Mhm.
during the show.
Yeah.
For sure.
And
I mean, even during sweat, the
Yeah,
small
yeah,
amount of
yeah.
time that we used with it was helpful.
Yeah. So then, what that means though, is to get a,
You don't have to sneak it.
well,
Past the sky.
it's his dinner.
Oh,
That's what he's doing. So he doesn't have to go home and eat vegetables. Eat your vegetables here. So what that means is likely an outlay of about $500 per unit. It's running at $2,000.
Okay. And are we thinking Gen Tech? Or would that be?
It would be Gen Tech, yeah.
Okay.
That is a large chunk
Yeah.
of money for this year's budget.
If we maybe wanted to start with 2 units, and see how our stage managers. Because I think it would work really well. I know that for some folks, when they get into a groove with their system, they're like, oh, I know.
No, it's true. And some people prefer Windows, and then go to Mac or VDA and they just punch it.
Well, that's been my experience because I have all Android stuff. So getting into Mac, I'm like, I'm fighting, let me in. But having seen Line It with some of my students and having seen, because StageRight is good. It's a bit more convoluted of a overlay. What's the word? The website
Interface.
setup interface. The interface is a little bit more convoluted. Line It. So yeah, I'd be interested.
What about like an iPad instead?
I
You can
would-
still get Line It, you can still get QLab.
I would
Well,
s-
you can't get QLab, you can
But-
get GoButton.
The
Yeah.
remote, yeah.
Which is not the same,
It is not.
and it sucks, because I've done it before,
Yeah,
where you program half a
Yeah.
show so that they can use it on an iPad or
MacBook to iPad, because most of the time, the reason like this is most folks have like a sling with their iPad on them, and that's how they do like the notes and everything. But you're right, they would have remote access to a couple things, not full access to a couple things. One of them being keyboard. Yeah, I would be interested in going down that avenue, at least in some part.
Yeah, because the other thing is we could still do the Mac Mini. If you have an iPad, then you also get a Mac Mini, because we have enough Mac Minis to go around right now.
And we just get, I mean, it was slightly cumbersome, not terrible, for Maggie to take the little Mac Mini and the little
Particular,
external screen.
yeah.
She just had her little bag and she took it everywhere with her, and I said, well, there you go. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just giving the Mac Mini now. I do also know more often than not a fair amount of our state managers are having their own iPads.
Well, I guess that also then begs the question, do we just do a permanent Mac Mini setup in the rehearsal hall, in both rehearsal halls?
I think that would be just fine.
Yeah.
And then there's no initial cost right now. We can start to see if our state managers like it.
Yeah.
Which was getting 99 calls about.
Help.
And then maybe, or we're getting 99 emails or calls
Yeah.
while we're here. I can't. This isn't what.
XYZ, yeah.
I don't think
just
so
know-
because it worked. But.
I just know that the setup in the rehearsal hall right now is pretty cumbersome. And I don't know, I haven't spent time sitting in there thinking about how do we make this less like, it's not even a big computer, but it gets in the way. It's such a tight little space over there. It's not an office desk setup. So I don't really know.
Mounting it on the desk, having maybe like a opening wing, like our tool cart
Oh.
table that comes up, and you can put all their stuff there.
Like one of those roll-in
Speaking of
Yeah.
budget, I had a question.
Yeah.
I forgot yesterday. I should have wrote it down. Where did you say we should start putting while you're making it any purchases that we're making right now?
In
I
the
have
corresponding sheet, so if it's for a show,
no show, Gentech or Gentech. Is there a show?
yes,
Is there
it's
tab?
now full tech budget.
Okay.
It's the 3-step ones is RLT, GLM, full tech.
Okay.
I started the Gen Tech yesterday, but I'm gonna create a place where you can just put stuff.
Okay. Cool. I just made a purchase today. I said, oh shoot, I'd forgotten already.
But you
I
get
did.
it into your folder.
I did. I did
And
one
that's-
thing.
that's
and
all I
said,
need.
Cool.
Because then I can just
Oh,
be
I
like,
got
boop, boop. Boop, boop.
Cool.
Okay.
Shut this guy in.
Okay.
All right.
And that's just, projector going up. No, what? The screen going up, projector going out.
Yep.
Lights out.
Oh, that's cute.
Yep, it tells you, you both should know you have to power this on before you connect it to either the cord or the computer.
Interesting.
And they do need more power than is being pushed from the laptop, at least my laptop and your laptop. I don't know, yours is a little bit more powerful, so maybe that'll change.
That's what needed to be.
Yep, and up there, I don't know if it's because it's going through the cord,
Yeah.
it wouldn't do it. So those things need to be put
Okay.
in.
So you plug in the power first, then
Power
connect.
first, then connect, and it should go receiving end, pushing end,
Okay.
one, two.
Okay.
And then this will come up, and that's how you know you did something right.
Sweet.
Great, cool.
Okay.
Alright.
And then I'll clean up my setup. Any other, debrief notes?
I have another stage management book sitting that I just pulled out of my bookcase that I should get to you.
Please.
I forget which it is.
Gail, that's the one I was.
But it doesn't look like any of these, so we'll see.
And it may be also, there's, these guys, again, this is the 13th one, and it came out on my birthday, and I was like, birthday purchase. I was that nerdy about it. But yeah, this one